I'm doing great, but we need to ask for some help for you. We need to ask for some help for you. We love you. We're your fam, but we need to ask for some help for you. Hey. Okay. So I agree. And this is the thing that I'm gonna say, making it obvious is not it's for content creation, depending on what your type of content is. I'm going to make a wild assumption that you're gonna validate that it's correct or not. And that wild assumption is we're focusing on live video creation, not other types of content. Because depending on what you're doing, if you're a graphic designer or you're doing audio only podcast or you're doing something else, then making it obvious can look very different for you, as well as the other habits. S So yep, so again, live video, I'm let's narrow this then down, because if you go too broad, you're not gonna do it's just like a habit. You're not gonna do anything and you're not gonna stick to it because it's too big. So I'm gonna narrow it down and say, let's focus on live video. And then those who want to apply to other areas, whether it's cooking or whatever, graphic design, let's talk about live video as our model portion or type of content creation, if that's okay with you. Okay. You can hesitate. It does. However, do you want your audience to get anything out of it? Y'all, I'm coaching. I this is what I do. I'm sorry. I'm not giving him a hard time because Roy is one of my favorite people. He knows I adore him. But, so in that realm, making it obvious, that's your cue. The first step is he calls it a cue. What's gonna cue you in your space for you to take action, whatever that action happens to be. I'm gonna use me in a whole different way. And if you've ever heard me, you may have heard this story, but if you haven't, I'm gonna share it because it represents how I function so much. Every day, I lay my clothes out. Like what you teach when if you're a parent, you teach your children, lay your clothes out all the way down to your shoes. Well, I do the same thing as an adult, and I've done that. But that's my clue. So today I laid out my clothes for what I was gonna wear earlier in the day, and I laid out my clothes for what I was gonna wear this evening. That clued me. That's my cue when I went to look at the clothes. What are you preparing for? So whatever that cue is, making it so that it's you can't miss it and it triggers your brain into what am I supposed to be doing, or what do I plan to do, or what do I want to do. Exactly the same thing with your content creation. All of the cues that you need that would make it easy for your brain to say, "Oh, I'm in this mode now. I'm in writing mode or recording mode or editing mode or live streaming mode." Again, absolutely. If you use so how do you do that? What does it look like, right? It's saying have a small space, but have your cues. Well, start to understand, especially if you're new, how do you use your live streaming software? Whether you're using YouTube Live, the actual YouTube app, or whether you're using something like Ecamm that Roy uses, having your profiles set up and built, having your segments already in place, know how you're going to work with it, or at least be on the road to learning how you're going to work with it. I call myself on the road to that because it seems like every week I do something crazy, but on the road to getting really good at it. But it triggers you. When I see a certain profile, I'm going live. When I see another kind of profile, I'm doing video recording. I see another type of profile, I'm going into a meeting. So that's a cue right in something if you're doing live video that you can form as a habit. Just creating a profile and naming it and even changing the colors. I have different colors that I use in different backgrounds. That's the way to set your environment just in something as straightforward as your encoder, your live streaming software, right? I Yeah, I was sharing with you, Roy, before we came on. I've changed my lights, y'all, and I don't know any of the stuff, right? So I can coach, been doing it for years. I can speak, been doing it for years. Can teach you productivity, been doing it for years. These lights and things is a whole problem. It's a whole problem. So I got these Godox lights and don't understand anything about them. So I've been warring with these lights, but that's an example of where I'm having to now set these so that again, when they come on, they're correct, but they're ready to go. Mhm. 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 So those are your cues, making it easy. That's the first part. This is a loop, right? So what he designed is a loop, and it's a habit loop, and each piece works to get you to the next piece, to next step. So there are four of them that Roy showed when we first came in. For this first one is your cue. What's going to trigger you? Kind of like in the software world, we talk about triggers. What's the trigger for something to happen? Well, it's the same for your environment that you work in. I have back here on my desk a red planner. That thing is with me all the time. It's red. It sticks out, but when I open it, it puts me in a certain mind frame of mind. That's number 2. Yep. Well, I'm gonna say it's the craving. What's the thing, that one of the things he talks about in one of his, and I'm gonna suggest people do this, but he has uh, a little free course you can take, and he talks about in there this whole cravings, step 2 of this loop. What is it that you're going to want that's gonna be attractive enough for you? Almost like it creates a craving. Those of us who love certain types of food, our body will crave it. If you exercise, your body will crave it. Something that your body will want to do, something your mind will want to do. Let's say this, let's keep it positive. Keep it positive. So, what is the trigger? And then you want to make it so that you're gonna wanna do it. You're gonna want to. And it's not so big and scary that it repels you, right? You want it to work for you and not against you, as I say. So what are things we can do? Mhm. Well, mine is pretty straightforward. I wanna help people, specifically small business owners, entrepreneurs, faith-based leaders. I come out of the faith tradition, faith-based leaders, nonprofit executives, to get all of the friction out of their productivity system for this very reason, so that they will want to do the thing, and it won't be a struggle for them, and it won't be they won't be repelled from the work that they have to do. This is this past Monday I released a video. I release one every Monday, and I talked about in that video, and it's kind of as applicable, is understanding the value of your time. And when you understand the value of your time, then you're gonna want to do things and put systems in place that attract you. So when you sit down or stand up to record or to go live, you are using every minute wisely. So if you can think, my time, I'm going to work 2.5 hours a day on content creation, and at $300 an hour, 2.5 hours, every minute is worth $5. And if you want to invest that time, that's what's going to attract you. I'm doing something, making an investment. Then that'll help drive you because you're making an investment. You're not spending your time. You're investing your time, and you're going to have a return on it. And that's one of the ways that I believe it helps people. It attracts you to want to do this work. Absolutely, because I see some folk out there I know. How y'all doing? Hey, Matt. Hey, Sammy. Hey, Adam. Hi, Laura. Hey, John. Yes. No, don't be causing trouble out there. Hi, Nicholas. Hey, Dagan. Some days I need to do that, Adam. Exactly. Hey, Lala. Oh, you did a good job of typing all that. Woo. Hey, David. Hey, Pierre. That's awesome. Hey, cowboy. TBJ, TBJ in the building. Wednesdays. Just subscribe. Okay, that's pretty short and definitive. Yeah. And I'm gonna challenge you to ask some questions. I love answering questions. So Q colon and ask your question. Yeah. This is one of my favorites. Go ahead. You were saying it's amazing. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. So I do use paper systems because I'm a pen fanatic, but and paper snob. But I break down everything. My newsletter is broken down into small steps. I have a weekly piece of content that I send out to my membership community. It every week, every day I do like 5 minutes on it. Literally 5 minutes every day, but by the end of the week it's ready to go in those 5 minutes. Um my live stream, same thing. So this is one that's a little bit different the way I handle it. I although and don't get me because I know I owe you, but once a month for the month, I decide on a theme for the month, a broad theme. And I write out and actually write a brief for the month, break it down into each of the Fridays of the month, and then we work through those week by week. So by the time, most times, again, don't get me, I'm telling on myself. The thumbnails are created. So unlike most of you all, I don't do my own graphic design. I have a designer who happens to be in the chat tonight, the emotional CEO. He's a graphic designer extraordinaire. So all of my graphics he does, but I have to give him a brief. So this is how I break it down. So one of the steps in my process is get everything ready to hand off for him so he can go ahead and make the thumbnails and things like that. And anything else that I ask him to make to go with that show or that series or that theme or whatever it is. And that helps him. So while he's doing that, I'm researching the topics and starting to just brainstorm ideas about the topics, questions that'll get answered. How do I want to present it? What information I want to share about me? So I break it down into teeny tiny steps, and I do something pretty much 7 days a week. Not suggesting that you should have to work 7 days a week. That just happens to be me and my craziness. But I do something pretty much 7 days a week. And then about once a month, I'll take like 2 days off and won't do anything. Mhm. Mhm. And that's what I just described, right? And I'm not perfect at it. You know, when are you gonna do your chapters? Are you gonna do them immediately? I don't do mine immediately. Some people might. After the live stream, I have 2 or 3 that I haven't done the chapters on. I've chosen to work on something else, but it was an intentional choice. However, whatever that is for you, one of my habits, and I'll put this in, is without fail, I watch my live stream every Friday after I've done it because it's fresh. And a member of my team and we debrief. And that person, my community manager, is watching and says, here are things that I noticed. And those become, you will talk about it later in the next step, but those go into my response. The feedback that I get from my community manager saying these are things to work on, as well as my designer, are things that I apply going forward. Now, I recognize that I just said I have a team. I'm fortunate. My best friend loves me, and he also has a broadcast background. And my brother is a designer and does this. Everybody doesn't have that. I'm super blessed and very well aware of it. But even when it's you and you're doing it, I'm starting to learn a few of these little skills. Take the same approach. I would implore you take the same approach. You still have a life outside or in addition to content creation. Even if it's your full-time business, you still have another life. You have a home and a family, and it can consume you. And then when you're in the hospital or in the bed for days, can't get out, you'll be trying to figure out why. The adrenaline rush can make you say, I'm going to do this 24 hours a day forever. No, 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 no. You're not. You're human. Your body needs a break from it. Your mind needs a break from it. So breaking the things down into small chunks will help tremendously. Despite how much we all get an adrenaline rush and want to just do this because we want that. It's called a habit for a reason. Just saying. I'm gonna let's do this one last. We need to talk about the response. The response of you making the change first before you go into that reward. And that's where I was talking about the response from you doing the thing is that you get that the reward comes next. That'll feed you back into your queue. So it's a whole cycle, 4-step cycle. It's a loop and it doesn't break. It works the same way all the time. So what is the response to you and in your environment that you experience? It may be that adrenaline rush. It may be you got a positive comment from a viewer, or a viewer asks you a question and you're excited about answering that question and it gave you a great idea of another way to serve your community. So that's can be some of those can be some of the responses. It may be the response may be you made a fantastic connection with another creator and you all are now supporting each other. So the response from going through these small habits will be different for each of you. I would implore you don't overlook those, however. Not just the reward, but the response. The reward comes next. It's also the easy part. It's the easy part and the rewards we all love. That's what we want. That's what we want. We want the rewards, right? Yeah, exactly. And the reward is where the satisfaction comes in. And I submit, and we want that feeling, that positive feeling. When we don't follow the whole loop, it can be a struggle. I'm just saying, it can be a struggle to get to that reward piece because we've ignored the others. And habits is how we live our life. More than 90% of what we do day to day is a habit. We do it without thinking. And if we have a habit, let's just say, I'm going to make this applicable to content creation. Our habit is we don't at least outline our topic and do some level of research, even if it's going back through our own notes of a topic we know well. I'll give you an example. This show is an example. I've read the book multiple times. I've taught classes on this multiple times. I've taken his class that he sends out. His It's an email class, of course. I went back through all of my notes from that in preparing for tonight. Not only what he wrote, but what I took out of it for myself to refresh myself. That's part of that loop. Why? Because I want it to be. So is that unique? No. I prepare for every live stream, every video the same way. I do the homework. That's a part of my habit, but I had to develop it. So you don't just wake up one day and I'm going to be a fabulous content creator. Are you going to be one? Yes. Are you going to be successful? Absolutely, without a doubt. Are you going to get to the 10,000 subscribers? Yes. 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 Let me just say this: habits, and I'm going to sum it up in one thing: make it easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. Make it easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. It's easy to drink a glass of water. It's also easy to drink a soda instead of a glass of water. Which one is healthier for you? The water. In content creation, these small habits are easy to do, but they can also be easy not to do. It can be easy not to do your research, and it can be easy to do your research, right? Awesome. Matt, yeah, your habit. Writing your talking points before you go live. Easy to do. It's also easy not to do. And if you're going to wing it, then if you're not getting the results that you expect, what are you putting in? Right? Exactly right. I sum it up that way, and I learned that a long time ago from someone who's very successful. Make it so routine that it's boring. Mhm. Oh, thank you. That is so kind of you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, lots of them. So some examples are: how where do you capture your ideas? A friction point can be: I capture my ideas in 5 different applications. I put some in a Google Doc, I put some in Apple Notes, I put some in a notebook and don't move them out. I voice record some and don't go back and pull them out or get them transcribed. That's the easy one. And it's I fell into that when I first started, and I know better. And I very quickly said, "No, no, 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 no. You know better. Be disciplined about where you're putting these ideas." So I now corral them all and put them in one place. Yeah. So I am a huge fan of Evernote, but I've been using it since it came out, and I've got a pretty robust, not pre a very robust, mature system set up in it. My moderator, my community manager has a page in there. My designer, that's where he goes to look. That's where he drops graphics for me to sign off on or give feedback on. He edits some of my writing, especially things that I'm putting out, and we do it in Evernote. Everybody has access, and it's easy for us, and we don't have to figure out anything, and I don't care whether they're using Android or Windows or Mac or iOS or Linux or anything. As long as they can get to a browser, they can get to it. What do most of my clients struggle with? Um, it may sound a little strange, but the first thing is believing that they can be productive. Really believing that they can accomplish what they want to accomplish. And I don't mean that by, um, when I say accomplish, like I want to fix this part of my system, or I want to put a system in place, or I don't want to be stressed out. And just believing that it's possible, and then believing that it's not going to look like someone else's. Everyone, just like we are all absolutely unique, even identical twins are unique, our productivity system is unique for each and every one of us. There are no two people who have the exact same system, even if they use the same methodology. You're talking to the queen of a heavy workload. Let me just tell you, it can be insane. Um, one, really what we talked about, one is breaking it down. Number two, having routines. I use a lot of routines. Morning routine, how I start up my office in the day, how I close down my office in the day, how I set my day up the night before. For example, tomorrow morning, when I come over here in the office, sit down, I have two desks. This is a desk over here, and then the desk here that I'm looking at the camera. Well, when I go to that computer over there, it's one mode. Well, when I turn that thing on, actually don't turn it on because it stays on, but I hit the keys. I've got all of my meetings in a note. I've got who I'm meeting with, what I'm talking about. The agendas for meetings that I'm facilitating are already done and sent out to everyone. Reminders are already scheduled to go out because I do them the day before. And most of them are scripted, so it's just hit a couple buttons and schedule it. So routining is the way I handle a lot of that overload. One day, Thursday of this week, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., I have meetings nonstop. There is not a break in between any of them. And the only today, everything for Thursday is already prepared because I'm not going to, there's no airspace to do anything. And as I'm putting notes in the in my note taking application, one of my team members is going to be taking the action items out, throwing them in our planning system. And then Friday morning, I'll look at them. And it's the same way in content creation. Being productive is playing with them cute puppies. Let me just tell you. A friend of mine, actually a colleague, his dog had surgery Thursday of last week, and every day I'm checking on the dog because it was on one of his hind legs. He can't walk on it, and he's just, not being very happy right now, but it was for his good. And so I do. If we're in a meeting, I'll go, "Hey, what's happening with ASO? Let me know because I need to see him." He knows my voice and he hears my voice and he looks up like, "Oh, where is she?" So yeah, play with your puppies. Play, if you have kittens or whatever. There are some animals I don't particularly care for. They crawl on the ground, but like slither around, you can't handle those. But some people love them, and I'm not judging, no judgment. But you have pets, and your children are not pets. Just saying, your children are not pets. But love on them, hug them, hug them. I have a habit with my brother, and he's gonna laugh. He's probably gonna pop me in the back of my head. But in the morning, I will do something. So for those who don't know, my brother and I share a home, and so I will my way of just telling him that I love him without saying it is I'll do something silly, like I'll walk up to him and just kind of nudge him. And it's my way, but that's productive for me. It reminds me that this is somebody who really cares about me and that I really care about, and we want to show it to each other. So that's not non-productive. Relationships is everything. At the end of your life, at the end of your life, all the things in the world are not going to matter. Your loved ones are what's going to matter, and they're going to be the ones that will remember you, and you're going to remember them. So, the number one thing are the people and your babies, your fur babies in your life. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. That is so kind of you. Thank you. Yeah, I know, David, you are a Google Keep user. Hmm. I do. I do it while he's making coffee. He's at the coffee pot and I'm annoying him. He's making great progress, you all. He's playing it down, and this is one of the things we're working on. So yes, I'm gonna put you on blast. He's playing it down, but he is doing fantastic. And again, it's unique. My journey, the places, and I run into friction points myself, and then I have to back up and go, how do you deal with this? What are you going to do to get rid of it? Early on, I shared when I first started that I was running into a point of friction where I would not, I would ask someone for some information or to do something, and I would say I need it by tomorrow. Well, 3 days would go by and I didn't get it, and I didn't remember that they owed it to me, and now I need to produce something and I don't have what I need, and I'm on for a scramble. So when I stepped back and said, "How do you deal with that?" Well, one of the things I did is when I ask anyone for anything, I write a task and I use ETR and a date. Expect to return, meaning I'm expecting a return for whatever that is, whatever date I expected, the person's name, and a little description of what it is, like 1 or 2 words. So this is literally takes me like a couple of seconds to do. And that stopped me from needing to get information back from someone and then forgetting that to check if they gave it to me. And I don't live and work out of email, so I'm not checking email all the time for it. But that's an example of how I had run into a friction point and had to figure out a solution for it. And the simple, again, easy to do, easy not to do. Many times, the simple way to handle getting rid of the friction is the best way because it'll be easy to do, and that's what you want. And Roy, I'll just say all the different ways if you just go to florencedonald.live and you don't have to remember anything except that one place, florencedonald.live, and that'll get you to me, including if you want to have a chit chat with me. You read Getting Things Done. Yeah, I'm a big GTD nerd. Absolutely. Yeah, I wanna talk ab yeah, I wanna the 2-minute rule is tremendous. I will give you a little bit of caution, okay? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Yes, use it. Don't get caught up in, "I've gotta write it down." If it's real quick, don't bother writing it down, just do it. Just go do it and be done with it. Get it out of your out of your life, out of your way, out of your thought, out of your head. Get rid of it. At the same time, use something like time boxing so that you don't end up doing 2-minute things and 6 hours later you're still saying, but this will only take 2 minutes. This will only take 2 minutes. This will only take 2 minutes. And then you've distracted yourself and you haven't done the thing that you really intended to do or needed to do. What all of this, there is a set of boundaries to put in place for yourself. Time boxing, Roy just showed the Pomodoro cube can be very effective because it'll help. It's a trigger, right? You hear that little thing clicking like a clock. 25 minutes, you're done. Take a break, go at it again. I use time boxing and time blocking. They're not the same thing. Time boxing is when you say, I'm going to do this thing for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, or an hour, whatever it is. And at the end of that time period, you stop. Wherever you are, you stop. So use the 2-minute rule. Don't be writing it down, putting it in your system, checking it off. Just go do it and be done with it. That's one. And that 1% better, it's forever. In the IT world, an application, anything you're releasing, we have a saying, and Roy, you know this well because you're in the IT world. Version one is better than version none. Just get it out there. Just get it out there. If it's a blog, if it's a newsletter, if it's a video, if it's a podcast, if it's a graphic design, just get it out there. You can iterate and get better. I'm learning so much in this live video space. I was sharing with Roy Friday. I looked completely orange on the screen because I got these Godox lights that I'm learning how to use. Okay, version one is better than the version none. I went live anyway. It is not the end of the earth. And if somebody didn't like it, they're not going to watch it. Okay, it's okay. Hey, Frank. Yes, he does. Look at you. Haven't been on. You haven't been on his show then because his piano is right there in his background. If you can get it done, get it done. Pomodoro cube. It's a trigger, right? It's a trigger. It's visible. It's easy for you to do. We're doing the loop, right? It's easy for you to do. It's also easy for you not to do. But you get a reward when you say, I did this thing for the 10 minutes or the 25 minutes or whatever, and now I can move on. You just completed the loop. Just that quick. I don't think they're gonna let you. The yeah, the little people that walk around with guns, they may not like that so much. It'll be in his description. Okay, David. I would say be mindful. The biggest takeaway is think about this loop of habit building. And if there's a habit that you formed and you want to change it, use the same process to develop the next habit or the new habit that you want to develop, right? Habits don't go away. You simply replace one with another. Once your mind has learned something, it's not going to unlearn it. Once you've developed a habit, you actually don't unlearn the habit. What you do is you learn a new habit that replaces the other one. That's actually how we work neurologically. It's actually how we work. So figure out what that thing is that is a point of friction, not every point of friction in your process, in your workflow, but pick one. If it's Doc Rock, many of you know who he is. He's a content creator. He's one of the director of channel partnerships at Ecamm. I just did something on my computer. Hit the wrong button. He's the director of channel partnerships at Ecamm, and so he did a stream recently, and he talked about something very simple. And Roy talked about it today, but the way Doc explained it, I was like, ding, ding, ding. Your checklist of what you need to do before you go live, put it on a scene as a mechanical scene in Ecamm if that's what you use, so that you don't have to open up a separate document or a separate app or pull out a notebook or whatever you use to run through it. It's literally right there. When you open up Ecamm, you go to your profile, the first scene is your checklist and just run through it. That's a simple one. And when he said that, I was like, well, why didn't I think about that earlier? Yeah, his mechanicals. Yeah, so that's an easy takeaway, something that you can, if you don't do it today, and if you don't use Ecamm, I know StreamYard has a different way of where you can put information that you can see. I don't know what it's called because I don't use StreamYard, but in that little section where you can put notes, just make a note. That's your checklist if you don't have it, and you just want to have it easily available to you without, again, easy to do, easy to find, easy trigger, easy, that right? Make it easy on yourself. Yeah. Yes, la. As a solo mom, you've got a lot of moving parts. A whole bunch of music moving parts. Roy will no, 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 no. No, no, no. N no, 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 that's not what you're gonna say. If you wanna make it available, I'm coaching y'all. Um, PDF it, Make it available on your website or on your Buy Me a Coffee page and let folk go download it. Yes. Oh, I didn't tell you this, Roy. This is a fun fact. For those of you who know, and when you said life hack, for those who've been around a minute, you may have read the book Life Hack by Gina Trapani. She actually works at my company. I was like, "Is that the Gina Trapani I think it is?" I reached out to her. She was like, "Yeah, it's me." I was like, I was uber excited because I'm like, now I get to ask her questions. I can get directly to her. I don't have to go through nobody or nothing. No, I don't. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of those you talk about being overwhelmed and you have like where you're a solo mom, putting things where people can get to them is one of those hacks, if you will, that you can still serve your community and not have it be so onerous on you. People emailing you or texting you and calling you asking for something that you can make it so they can just go grab it at their convenience. You're serving them, you're not inconveniencing them, and you're not taking on more. You do it one time, you set it and you let it go, and then you don't go change it again until you're ready to update that document or that digital download or whatever it is, that graphic, and you leave it for them to be able to download it. Now, I'm not saying you charge for it. I'm not saying you don't charge for it. That's your decision based on your business model. But put it where people can get it themselves and serve themselves when it's convenient for them. Life hacks. I'll grab the link and give it to you. Thank you, Dagan. You are most welcome, sir. Oh, thank you. Y'all, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna help. I'm gonna get him. This is one thing we're working on, and Roy is one of my favorite people. You are absolutely one of my favorite people, as I say to you, be who you are. Bring your whole self to the game. Yeah. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Um, yes. And, bring your whole self to the game. Be who you are. Genuinely who I am. My brother and my best friend will tell you, she's really like this. she, she she would probably plan how to, hug me if she could. But that's who I am. Thank you, Denise. Apron Diva. Apron Diva. No, FlorenceDonald.live. FlorenceDonald.live. Thank you.